Ommignat Mandasha Gananjana Salakaya Chakshumlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Charu Chandrika Dasi, and I was born in Manchester, England in the year 1969, and then I grew up in Liverpool from the year 1971 with my parents and two brothers. And then my mother's mother, means my grandmother, was a very good Christian, and my mother used to take me to church when I was young. So I had some Christian upbringing. And then after some time my mother stopped taking me to church, but I went to Sunday school, and then I became a Sunday school teacher. So at a young age, a teenager, I was teaching children Bible stories and everything. And actually I always had a natural belief in God, and so when I was very young, I think maybe 6 years old, I don't 6, 7 years old. So I used to, want to see God. And then I would try to talk with God, but I was a little frustrated because God wasn't answering me. So then I thought, why isn't God answering me? So maybe if I write him a letter, maybe he'll answer me then. So then I wrote this letter as a child, to God, and asking him to reveal himself to me. And then and maybe I had some desires in there, I can't remember. And then I put the letter on my window ledge, thinking that God in the sky would see. But unfortunately, only my mother saw. Well, I'm sure God saw. He sees everything. But anyway, my mother saw, and she thought it was very funny. And she told, like, all the family members, and they had a good laugh and joke about it. But anyway, it was just showing that I had this natural belief in God. And then when I was growing up, around the dinner table we would have all kinds of discussions, and I remember one time talking about reincarnation, and I thought that made perfect sense, although my family might not have. But anyway, I used to sit on my rocking chair and sing like hymns and things, when I was younger. And my favorite book was the Bible stories and like that. So then, let's take it forward. I had one very good friend who was a vegetarian, and she became vegetarian when she was about 12. And when she told me, I was like, wow, I'd love to become vegetarian. But I thought my parents would not like that, they wouldn't agree. So then I thought, okay, but definitely I'm going to become vegetarian. So then when I was 17, then, I was sick one day, and my mother gave me some dinner, and it was like meat, and there was blood, and I was like, I can't eat this anymore, and I said, Mother, please take it away. And after that, I just decided to become vegetarian. I thought, never again, I'm going to eat meat or fish. I think maybe I ate eggs in the beginning, I can't remember. And then when I was 17, I didn't have such a good relationship with my father. So then I wanted to run away. Many times I wanted to run away, but I finally had the courage when I was 17. And I picked up, my family had gone out, I picked up more of my stuff and then just left, took a train to London. But I had a a contact there, friend, and you know, there was a household of many people, like New Age people, you know. So it was, I was very fortunate. I went into that household, and there's all, you know, they were talking a lot about spirituality. So then, you know, they'd talk about karma, reincarnation, meditation, you know, it's all one, it's all illusion. And I was like, wow, you know, this is like the first time I was hearing all this stuff. And I thought, wow, yeah, this all makes sense. And then especially, you know, I had some like belief in reincarnation. I thought that does make sense. But karma I didn't really know so much about. So when they talked about karma, I was like, oh yes, that definitely makes sense, you know. Action, reaction, yeah, that, you know, I could see that making sense in my life, you know. And so I accepted karma. I thought, karma, reincarnation, yes. And then they, you know, they had a lot of spiritual books, and they would go to lectures I remember going to one big church, and they would hold lectures there about karma, reincarnation, meditation, all these things. And you know, they would kind of hire it out when the Christians were doing that. But yeah, so I was like fascinated. I thought, wow, it's so wonderful. And then, you know, when I was going to college, I was studying psychology and sociology in London. And then one day I was walking on my way to college, and I got stopped by a devotee, you know. He gave me Perfect Questions and Perfect Answers, and another book by Srila Prabhupada. Maybe it was King of Knowledge, something like that. So I thought, okay, you know, this looks interesting, but I didn't really kind of get into it at that time. And then later on, my friends, they took me to the Hare Krishna temple in London. It's called Radha Londonishvara.
Which year was this?
That was, I was probably 17, 18, like that. I don't know exactly the year, but I was born in 91, so. And then, yeah, I went to that temple. I was asking questions. There's a restaurant downstairs, so had a nice vegetarian meal. Maybe I went upstairs to the temple, and they gave me a Bhagavad Gita, you know, so like that. I thought it was very interesting. And then I told you I was going to college, and because I was getting so much into spirituality, like that was my life, you know, and I was really searching. Then one day I approached my psychology teacher, professor, and I said, you know, what's more interesting, psychology or spirituality? What's, you know, what do you think? And then he couldn't answer. He was just like silent. And then I asked him again, I said, what do you think is more important, psychology or spirituality? And again, he was like, I don't think he'd ever been asked a question like this before, you know. So then he was like, And I said, I know, it's spirituality. And then I just left the college after that.